Good afternoon, students. We will continue with the story Sherlock Holmes and the Adventure of the Speckled Band, chapter 12 in your book, from where we left off on page number 106. Julia and I led miserable lives. Who is I? I here is Helen Stoner because she is telling the story to Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. She is narrating the story of why she was here, why she was there to visit Sherlock Holmes. So Julia is telling the story. So the I in this line stands for Helen Stoner. Julia and I led miserable lives. We did all the housework as no servant stayed for long in our house. Obviously, if there are cheetahs and baboons roaming around the house, no servant would like to work in that house. So the poor girls had to do all the housework. Julia was only 30 when she died 2 years ago. So imagine a young girl of 30. Julia was only 30 years old and she died 2 years ago. And they were both twins. So Helen Stoner was also 32 now. She was engaged to be married to an army major. My stepfather did not object to the engagement. However, my sister died a fortnight before her wedding day. So what happened? She's telling the story from the beginning that Julia and she has told Sherlock Holmes about her mother. She has told how she got married to the stepfather, where they got married, and then she told that when they came back to London, the mother also died in a railway accident, and before dying, she left a will in which the two daughters were supposed to be given a certain fixed amount annually after their marriage by Dr. Roylott. So then she said, we had enough money. Our mother had left us enough to fulfill all our desires. But after her death, Dr. Roylott, the stepfather, changed completely. He started quarreling with the neighbors. He remained in isolation in his own house. He had a very bad temper and he had a lot of strength. He had no friends except a few wandering gypsies whom he allowed to camp in his grounds, that means in his premises in the house. And he had a friend who used to send him wild animals like the cheetah and the baboon. And these animals roamed around freely in their house. So Julia said that their lives, Helen is saying that their lives had become miserable. The two sisters had to do all the housework since no servant was ready to work in their house. Then when Julia was 30, she died. How did she die? Before her death, she had got engaged to a major in the army. The stepfather was very okay with the engagement. He did not say anything to that. However, what happened? Just a fortnight. Fortnight means 2 weeks or 15 days. Just 15 days before her marriage, Julia died mysteriously. How? Only one part of our house is inhabited. Inhabited means occupied. She is saying that only one part. Now she is describing her house. Only one part of the house was occupied. The bedrooms are on the ground floor. So all the bedrooms were on the ground floor. There is no connecting door between them and they all open out into the same corridor. So you can imagine the house, Stoke Moran. Only the first floor has bedrooms. So all the bedrooms were on the first floor. There was no door interconnecting door between the bedrooms, and all the doors were opening into a long corridor. All the doors to all the bedrooms opened into one corridor, same corridor. One night, Julia asked me if I had ever heard anyone whistle in the middle of the night and then a clanging sound like a piece of metal falling. So one day, Julia, the sister who is now dead, asked Helen that whether she had heard anyone whistling at night. You know what a whistle is? A low sound. By emitting your breath, you take out a low whistle from your mouth. So she asked Helen if she had heard anyone whistling in the middle of the night, and then a clanging sound. Clanging sound is made by some heavy metal banging against something, like a piece of metal falling. She said, have you heard any such noise like a piece of metal falling very loudly and making a sound? I told her I didn't hear anything. So Helen hadn't heard anything. We thought it must have been the gypsies. So they assumed that it must be the gypsies doing something. They must be whistling. They must be making all those noises. We always locked our bedroom doors at night. We were afraid of the cheetah and the baboon. So both of them used to lock their own doors and sleep because they were afraid of obviously the wild animals roaming around the house. That particular night was a wild, stormy one. Now she's describing the night on which Julia Stoner died. So that particular night on which Julia died was a very wild and stormy night. There was a storm going on outside. I could not go to sleep. Suddenly I heard my sister scream. So Helen was unable to sleep because of the storm, and suddenly she heard her sister screaming. I rushed out into the corridor. I heard a low whistle. So before that, Helen had never heard the whistle which her sister talked about. But that particular night, when there was a storm, she was unable to sleep, and therefore she heard Julia scream, and she ran into the corridor to see what had happened to her sister. And when she heard the low whistling sound, at the same time, my sister ran out of her room shrieking. So at the same time, she saw that as she came out of her room, at the same time, the sister also ran out of her room, and shrieking means crying in a shrill voice. Crying in a shrill voice. Oh my God, Helen, it was the band, the speckled band. So as she came out of her room, she was shrieking, she was shouting. And what did she say? She said that, Helen, I saw a band. A band is a flat, thin strip. Okay, a flat, thin strip kind of a thing. The speckled band. Now, speckled means having spots or patches of a different color from the normal base color. On the base color of something, you will have patches of a different color. So that speckled band, these were her last words. She fell to the ground unconscious. Unconscious, she was not aware. She was unconscious after saying these words. My stepfather sent for medical aid, but she never recovered. So Dr. Roylott sent for some medical help for her, but she was not able to recover. That means she died. There was an inquiry after her death. Obviously, it was a mysterious death. So there was an inquiry. The coroner could not find out what was the cause of her death. So coroner is an officer who conducts an inquiry into some suspicious or mysterious death. So the coroner could not find out what was the reason of her death. I think she died of fear and shock. So Helen thought that she had died because of fear, great fear and a shock. She had received some terrible shock on seeing something, and therefore she could not recover from that shock and had died. But I cannot imagine what frightened her. But she was not able to understand what was so frightening. What had she seen that frightened her so much that she died? 2 years have passed since then. Obviously, Julia was 30, and 2 years have passed. She has mentioned before, Helen has mentioned that since then, 2 years have passed. A month ago, I was engaged to be married. Now she's saying that 1 month ago, I was engaged. My wedding will take place in a few weeks' time. So in 2 weeks' time, she had already told Sherlock Holmes that I will be married in a month or 6 weeks before. If you see on page number 106, you can mark that also. She had on the second line on page number 106, she tells Sherlock Holmes, in a month or 6 weeks, I shall be married. So she's saying that my wedding is to take place in a few weeks' time. A couple of days ago, repairs were started on the outside wall of my bedroom. So she informed Sherlock Holmes that just a couple of days ago, some repairs have started on the outside part of my bedroom wall. I have had to move into my sister's room. So she was naturally forced to move into her sister's room. Last night, I seemed to hear a low whistle, such as my sister described, and a few moments later, I heard a clanging sound, as if a mass of metal had fallen. So she was so scared. The reason why she had come here was this, that as soon as she shifted into her sister's room, or was forced to shift into her sister's room because of the repairs going on in her own room, the same night she heard a low whistle, and along with the whistle, she heard the clanging of the metal banging against something. She heard that clanging sound as if a huge mass of metal is falling. I was too frightened to go to bed. I left as early as I could and came straight to see you. So she did not take any chance because she knew that this was the thing because of which her sister's life her sister was no longer alive. She knew that these were the symptoms which they ignored, and therefore her sister is no more now. So she did not ignore, she did not sleep the whole night after she heard the whistling sound and the metal clanging sound. She did not sleep, and as soon as it was morning, she hurriedly took a train and came straight to meet Sherlock Holmes. There was a long silence. Holmes then said, "If we went to Stoke Moran today, could we examine the rooms without your stepfather's knowledge?" So there was a long silence after she had finished relating her part of the story, why she was here, what was the reason she was here. Sherlock Holmes asked her that would it be possible to inspect your house, your bedrooms, without your stepfather's knowledge if we go to Stoke Moran today itself. Yes, you could. Examine means inspect. Yes, you could, she replied. He is coming to London today for some business. So Helen told Sherlock Holmes that yes, you can inspect, come and see the house today because my father will be going on some business to London today. Very well then, said Holmes. We shall be there in the afternoon. So Holmes told her that yes, now you go home and we will be there to examine your rooms in the afternoon. I shall look forward to seeing you, Mr. Holmes, she said and left. So her purpose was fulfilled. Holmes agreed to take up her case and agreed to visit her Stoke Moran in the afternoon. So Helen went back and she was a little bit relieved that Sherlock Holmes had agreed to look into the case. We sat there discussing the case. We means Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson sat there discussing the case and were interrupted by the entry of a huge man into the room. So as they were discussing the case, Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes sitting and discussing the case, they were interrupted by the entry by a huge man who entered the room. I am Dr. Grimsby Roylott. So here you come to know the full name of Dr. Roylott was Dr. Grimsby Roylott. He thundered. Thundered means he spoke loudly and forcefully in a forceful voice and a loud voice. Leave my stepdaughter alone. Don't meddle in our affairs. I am a dangerous man, so look out. So he had come to Sherlock Holmes to give him a warning. So he must have somehow found out that the stepdaughter, Helen, had come to Sherlock Holmes, and everyone knew Sherlock Holmes was a very good detective and he would get to the bottom of the case. So he had come here to threaten Sherlock Holmes not to meddle means interfere in our personal affairs. I am a very dangerous man, so look out. This was a warning to Sherlock Holmes. Having said this, he strode out of the room. Strode means walked out with long steps. Walking out with long steps. Come on, Watson, said Holmes. We have work to do. Holmes spent the morning examining Mrs. Stoner's will. He found out that Dr. Roylott would have very little money left if the two girls married. So Holmes, what did he do? Rest of the morning he spent inspecting and going through Mrs. Stoner's will. That is the will, the document which you write that after your death, your property will go to these people. So that document, that legal document, he was spending the afternoon, the morning, rest of the morning reading that document, Sherlock Holmes. He found out that Dr. Roylott would have very little money left if the two girls married. So he found out by reading the will of late Mrs. Stoner, he found out that Dr. Roylott will not have much money left with him if the two girls got married. He would have to pay them a fixed annual sum and therefore he would not have much money left with him. He seemed to have a strong motives for preventing their marriages. Motive means a reason. Therefore, he had a reason to prevent them from getting married. He had a strong motive. We took the train to Stoke Moran. So later in the afternoon, both of them, Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes, took the train and went to Stoke Moran. When we reached the house, Miss Stoner hurried out to meet us. So as soon as they reached the house, Stoner came out of the house to greet them, to meet them. We told her about our meeting with Dr. Roylott. She was astonished. She was greatly surprised. Astonished means very surprised, greatly surprised. So she was very surprised because she couldn't understand how her father came to know, the stepfather came to know that she had been to visit Sherlock Holmes. We went to the bedrooms to examine them. So straight away they went to the bedrooms to inspect the bedrooms. Holmes paid great attention to the windows. There seemed to be no immediate need of repairs to Miss Stoner's bedroom wall. So the first thing he noticed was he looked at the windows very carefully, and the first thing he noticed about Helen Stoner's bedroom was that there was no need for any repairs in that bedroom. So that was the first suspicion, that why, when was no need for any repairs to be done, why was it being repaired? It seemed to be just an excuse to move her from her room. So he realized that it was just an excuse. They wanted her to move out of her room and leave the room and go to Julia Stoner's room for some reason. It was just, the repairs were just an excuse. What was just an excuse? The repairs of Helen Stoner's bedroom was an excuse. We then made our way to Miss Julia Stoner's room. So after inspecting Helen Stoner's bedroom, they went to Julia Stoner's room. The late Miss Julia Stoner's room seemed quite ordinary and homely. Please underline, these are the key words describing Julia's room. Ordinary and homely. So what did Julia Stoner's bedroom look like? It was very ordinary, very simple. Homely means cozy, warm. Holmes walked around observing every detail. So Holmes was a very good observer, and therefore he walked around the room carefully observing the minutest detail. He walked over to the bed which was fixed to the floor, stared at it and gazed up and down the wall. So when he walked over to the bed, he found a very strange thing, that the bed was fixed to the ground. And he stared means he looked at something to look at something for a very long time. He kept staring at the bed, and then his gaze turned to the wall. Okay, then he looked at, just after looking at the bed, he looked just above the bed at the wall above the bed, and he inspected the wall up and down the wall. There was a little opening about 6 feet above the bed. It was a ventilator with a loop of whipcord dangling from it. So when his eyes went up to the wall above the bed, he noticed that just above the bed there was a little ventilator. You know, ventilator is a little window in a room to let to allow some ventilation, light and fresh air to come in. Okay, on top, it is generally made on top. In olden times it was made in every bedroom, but it had to be connected to the outdoors. The ventilator should be opening out into the outdoors, not into another one's room. Okay, so he saw that 6 feet above the bed there was a little opening which was a ventilator, but from that ventilator there was a loop of whipcord, means a rope. Dangling means hanging from it. A rope was hanging from that ventilator. Strange, said Holmes. Why should there be a ventilator opening into another room and not the outside? That means this ventilator had been specially made for some purpose, because it was not opening into the outdoors. It had not been made to let fresh air come in or the ventilation to be good. It was a ventilator opening into another room. Okay, and therefore this was the second suspicion. First suspicion was that why was Helen Stoner's room being repaired when they did not require any repairs. Second strange thing Sherlock Holmes discovered was that the bed was fixed to the ground, and this was the third strange thing, that there was a ventilator in the bedroom, but the ventilator was not opening outdoors, but it was opening into another bedroom. And the fourth strange thing was that there was a loop of whipcord or a rope hanging from the ventilator. These four strange things he had observed till now. The little hole led into Dr. Roylott's bedroom. So he saw that this little ventilator was opening into Dr. Roylott's bedroom. There was a large iron safe in the room. A saucer of milk stood on the safe. A safe, iron safe means an iron cupboard. So there was a very huge iron safe, metal safe in Dr. Roylott's bedroom. And inside the safe, there was a saucer, you know, cup and saucer, a small plate, a little bit of, saucer is a very small plate which you keep underneath a cup to have tea. So once a small saucer of milk was there, kept there inside the safe. Is there a cat here? Asked Holmes. So Holmes asked Helen that was there a cat in the house also? No, said Miss Stoner, there is a cheetah. He said, no, there is no cat in this house, there is a cheetah. A saucer of milk would not be enough for a cheetah. So this is the fifth strange thing he found out, that there was a small saucer of milk, although Helen had told him that there was only a cheetah in the house, and that small saucer of milk would not be enough for a cheetah. Holmes looked quite grim. Grim means very serious. Underline grim, very serious. It is a dangerous thing when a clever man turns his brain to crime. Please underline this line. It is a very important line. Holmes means that when a person who is very intelligent, he turns towards crime. His mind becomes criminal. He becomes a criminal mind. A genius who turns his brain to criminal activities, he can be very dangerous. Mostly if you see this English movies, you will see these serial killers and all. They are very intelligent people because the methods they employ to kill people are so scientific, so ingenuine, so intelligent. That such intelligent methods they would use, that you would realize that this person is a genius. Why is he a criminal then? He could have done anything else. So this is what Sherlock Holmes means, that when a person who is very intelligent, he was a doctor, remember, so he was very intelligent. So if a genius turns his mind and changes into a criminal minded person, then that is the worst thing possible. He muttered to himself. Muttered means he spoke in a low voice. He was speaking to himself. Then he spoke to Miss Stoner. After that, he turned to Helen. You must follow my instructions carefully, he said. Your life may depend on it. Then he turned to Helen and told her that you must follow my instructions very carefully from now, Helen, because your life depends on it. It is a matter of life and death for you. Watson and I will be in your room. We will investigate the noise which disturbed you. So your room means which room? The Julia Stoner's room, where she was now sleeping, which she was now occupying. So she said, you have to follow my instructions very carefully. Watson and I will be there in your room. We will be investigating or inspecting or examining the noise which disturbed you yesterday. By morning, I'm sure we will have explained the mystery. So he was sure, he was confident. Sherlock Holmes was confident that by morning he would be able to solve this mystery. We will leave now and come back later at night when Dr. Roylott has gone to bed. You must signal to us with a lamp from your bedroom window. So he said, for now we are going, but we will come back later at night when Dr. Roylott is sleeping. And when he sleeps, as soon as he sleeps, it is your duty to show us a lamp from your bedroom window so that we know that we can now come into the house. So they will be waiting for a signal. Helen was asked to give a signal to them to come inside the house at night. Holmes and I waited in the garden. He seemed unwilling to take me with him into the house. So till then, both of them went out of the house and they kept waiting in the garden. He seemed unwilling means he is talking about Dr. Watson is the narrator. So he is talking about Sherlock Holmes. So Sherlock Holmes was not very willing, not very eager to take Dr. Watson with him inside the house. Why? Because he was scared that something might happen to him. His life may also be in danger. If he accompanies Sherlock Holmes, the life of Dr. Watson might also be in danger. There is danger, Watson, he said. I knew it as soon as I saw the ventilator. There is something peculiar about the bed as well. So he explained to Dr. Watson why did he not want him to come inside. He said that it is very dangerous, Watson. I knew it. I could understand. As soon as I saw that ventilator, I knew it was something dangerous. There is something very strange about the bed as well. Have you ever seen a bed fixed to the floor? Have you ever seen somebody's bed has been fixed to the floor? Okay. Holmes, I cried. I think I begin to see what you are hinting at. So Dr. Watson said, why? Because he is the narrator. So I refers to Dr. Watson here. Dr. Watson agreed with Holmes. He said, yes, I can now begin to understand what you are hinting at, means what you are pointing at. I can understand what you are pointing at. By this time, it had become dark. So now it was dark. We had been waiting for over an hour. They had been waiting for more than an hour. Then we saw a flickering light at the window. Flickering means shining very unsteadily. It was not a very steady light because it was only a lamp. So it was a flickering light. Flickering means shining unsteadily. Not very steady. Sometimes bright, sometimes weak. Flickering is that. We slipped through the trees towards the house. Slipped means they went through the trees so that they are not seen towards the house. We saw the baboon but not the cheetah. Mercifully. Mercifully means thankfully we saw only the baboon while we were passing through the trees towards the house, but we did not encounter the cheetah. We did not meet the cheetah. We removed our shoes and slipped into the bedroom. So they removed their shoes and they went inside the bedroom. Which bedroom? Julia's bedroom. They went inside Julia's bedroom because all the drama was to take place there. Since Helen was removed from her own bedroom, the drama was to take place in Julia's bedroom. Whatever you do, Watson, don't go to sleep. So this is very important. He gave Watson also some instructions to follow. He said, Watson, first of all, you are not supposed to sleep. Your life may depend on it. The same thing he said to Helen Stoner also, that your life depends on this night. Everything depends on this night. So don't go to sleep, Watson. Whatever happens, do not fall asleep. Your life depends on it, and keep your revolver ready. You sit in the chair and I'll be on the bed. Said don't sleep. And the second thing he said was keep your revolver ready. Okay, be alert, don't sleep, keep your revolver ready for any situation, and you go and sit on the chair and I'll be sitting on the bed. I took out my revolver and Holmes placed a long thin stick in the bed. So Watson took out his revolver and Holmes had brought a long thin stick which he kept it on the bed. He also kept a box of matches handy. Matches means matchsticks. A box of matchsticks, he kept it handy. Handy means he kept it close to himself so that he could use it whenever required, because they were sitting in a dark room. We waited in the darkness. So they were sitting in complete darkness and kept waiting for something to happen. For we knew not what. They did not know for what they were waiting. They had no idea what would happen, for what they were waiting, but they were waiting. I shall never forget that dreadful night. Who is I? Now, Dr. Watson is saying that I will never forget that terrible night. Dreadful means terrible night in my life. As we sat in the dark room, we heard the screech of an owl. So all this is creating an imagery that what a scary night it was. We were sitting in darkness, both of us. I had the revolver in my hand and Sherlock Holmes had a stick in his hand. We did not know for what we were waiting, but we were waiting in darkness for something to happen. And then suddenly they heard an owl screeching, also adding to the tension, adding to the drama, and the cat-like whine of the cheetah. And not only the owl, they heard the cheetah also whining. Now, whine means a long, high-pitched cry. A long, high-pitched cry, something like the cry of a cat. If you are sleeping at night, sometimes you hear a cat crying at night. It's a very annoying sound to hear, the cat's cry. So that's something like that. They heard the cheetah also whining. How long the night seemed. Then how long the night seemed, exclamation mark, that whenever you are waiting for something to happen, whenever you are waiting for someone also, it becomes a very long wait. It seems that the wait is not going to end. For them also, it seemed like a very long night. Then a gleam of light shone through from the ventilator. Gleam means a sudden spark, sudden shine, light shone from the ventilator. It vanished almost at once, but it vanished, it disappeared. As soon as they saw the light, it disappeared also at once. Someone had lit a lamp in the next room. So they realized that someone must have lit a lamp in the next room. And whose room was the next room? Dr. Roylott's. There was a sudden, gentle sound of movement and then nothing. So they also heard a sudden, very soft sound as if somebody was moving and then nothing. Suddenly that sound also stopped. Then it came again, a soothing, hissing sound. Soothing means calm, calm sound. So once they heard that sound and there was silence again, but now they heard the unmistakable hissing sound. Hissing sound is very important here. Like that of a small jet of steam escaping from a kettle. So this is a simile being used by the author, Dr. Watson here, or otherwise the author of the book. So he has compared that sound, that hissing sound, to the sound of steam escaping from a kettle. When steam escapes from a kettle, in previous olden days, they used to place a kettle, a metallic kettle onto the stove, and they used to boil it to make tea. So when the water started boiling, a strange hissing sound used to come out of the spout. If you have seen a kettle, it has a spout. You have heard I am a little teapot, so it has a spout, and the steam would come out from the spout with a strange sound. So this hissing sound has been compared to that sound of the steam escaping from a kettle. As soon as we heard it, Holmes sprang from the bed. Sprang means jumped up from the bed. Struck a match. He lit a match. Struck means he lit a matchstick and lashed furiously with his stick at the bed. Lashed means hit. Furiously means very vigorously. So as soon as Holmes heard that hissing sound, he did not wait. He jumped up from the bed. He lit a matchstick, and with his stick, that thin stick he had, he kept on beating something furiously. He did not know what he was hitting, but he kept on hitting with it furiously, vigorously. Watson, he shouted, did you see it? So he shouted, now Watson, have you seen it? I saw nothing. When Holmes struck the match, I heard a whistle. So he said that Dr. Watson is saying that I had heard nothing. When Holmes had lit the match, he had heard a low whistle, but I could not see what he was hitting. But in the darkness, Dr. Watson did not see what he was hitting. I could, however, see that his face was deadly pale and filled with horror and loathing. Loathing means disgust, hatred. So Watson had not seen, he had just heard the low whistle. He could not see what Sherlock Holmes was hitting, the creature or the thing, whatever he was hitting, he did not know. But he could see from Sherlock Holmes' face that he was very frightened of whatever it was he was hitting. He was very frightened. Even Sherlock Holmes' face had gone pale. Pale, you go with fear. Your face turns white if you are shocked or afraid or frightened or terribly scared. Your face turns pale. So deadly pale. Deadly pale means a dead body also has a pale face, a white face. It goes white. All the color drains from a dead body. So he had gone, his face looked deadly pale. And his face was filled with horror. And loathing means disgust, hatred. He looked up at the ventilator. All at once there broke from the silence of the night the most horrible cry to which I have ever listened. It swelled up louder and louder. So what happened all at once, there was complete silence, and suddenly they heard the most terrible cry ever. The most terrible cry they heard from the other room. It swelled up means it grew louder and louder. The cry grew louder and louder, a hoarse yell of pain. It was a cry which sounded as if someone was in a lot of pain and someone was very scared. Someone was crying out of pain and fear. It was so loud and it kept getting louder and louder. And all mingled, pain and fear and anger. Please underline the yell means the shouting was combined, a combination of pain, fear and anger. The shouting which they heard from the other side, it was as if the man was in pain. At the same time, he was scared, and at the same time, he was angry also. All mingled means mixed in the one dreadful shriek. Shriek means scream. So there was only one loud shriek, and that scream was like a mix of someone who is scared, someone who is angry, and someone who is in a lot of pain. It was a deadly shriek. It was a very bad yell, a very bad shout, a very bad cry of painful and fearful cry that they heard. What is it? I gasped. So this Watson was also very scared, and he asked Sherlock Holmes, what is it? What is the sound? Take your revolver, Watson. It is all over. Let's go into Dr. Roylott's room. So Sherlock Holmes told Watson that let's go into Dr. Roylott's room. I think everything is over. It is all over. Whatever we had come for, the mission has been accomplished. So Watson, please take your revolver and let us go into the other room and see what has happened with our own eyes. So we will continue on Wednesday from here.